Welcome to another video. This time we're going to cover the Sorcerer Archetypes found in Xanathar's Guide to Everything for Fantasy Grounds. We're going to look at the effects that we can set up for the three archetypes here, and we've set up our level 20 wizard, and we've also set up the effects that we can for Divine Soul. If we have a look at this archetype, there are more than three, but Divine Magic and Empowered Healing are purely theatre of the mind things which we can't set any effects for or do anything which would make them any better, and there's no timers involved in those, so we don't need to keep track of anything. So let's have a look at Favoured by the Gods, another theatre of the mind thing, and the only reason we've got this on here is because it has a limitation of once per short or long rest. So we've gone into preparation mode and we have entered in the number of uses and selected rest, and so when the player uses the Favoured by the Gods, it will tick off and go away, and it will come back on any kind of rest. So that's the only reason that we've got that there. The next one is Otherworldly Wings, which is another theatre of the mind thing. Basically, it allows you to have wings. So we've set up an effect here which just simply says I have wings and gives you a fly speed of 30. This is just simply a reminder which will sit on the player, and they'll have to remove it when the wings goes away. You can have any text here that you like. It's Fantasy Grounds is going to ignore this because there are no keywords around and that, so it can't interpret that as anything. So it's just simply there as a reminder that you have wings. And the last one that we've got, Unearthly Recovery. We can't set up any kind of effects which would allow us to automatically regain up to half our hit point maximum. So there's no point in trying. But we do it again. It has a limitation, and it can only be used once per long rest. So in this one, we've gone into preparation mode, set it to 1 daily. So that again it can be ticked off and it'll come back on a long rest. So that's it for Divine Soul. I will add in the effects. I'll pause the video and add in the effects for Shadow Magic, and we'll come back and discuss those once I've done so. Okay, we've added in the Shadow Magic archetype effects. And again, there's a couple of these which are simply theatre of the mind, the Eyes of the Dark and the Shadow Walk. These don't have any effects that can be set up, and they've no timers, so there's no need for them on the Actions tab. So the first one here is Strength of the Grave, and again, this is one where we can't set up any effects because you can make a saving throw which has got a DC including the damage taken, so that needs to be worked out on the fly. And then if you drop to 0 hit points, you drop to 1 instead if you make the save. However, there is a timer here which means you can only use this once per long rest. So again, we've gone into preparation mode and set that up so that we can track the uses. The next one is Hound of Ill Omen, which just allows you to spend some sorcery points and call in a hound. Now the NPC for the hound has been included here, so we can see the statistics for the hound. The Dungeon Master will need to give you control of this hound so that you're able to use it in combat properly. There's a couple of effects that we can have in here, as we can see. The hound, if it starts its turn or ends its turn within anything, it takes 5 points of force damage, so we've created an effect to allow that. And the hound also starts off with a number of temporary hit points equal to half your sorcerer level. So we've set up an effect for this. We've set up a heal effect giving temporary hit points. And down here we've set the statistic to sorcerer. And of course that means that it's giving you the full benefit of your sorcerer level, and in this case it's 20, so we need to half that, so we have done so by adding in a -10 into the bonus. Obviously if you're a lower level sorcerer, let's say level 6, when you just get this, then you'll need to put in a -3 there. And then the temporary hit points can just simply be placed, drag and dropped onto the hound. And the only other action that we can use an effect for is that if the hound is within a specified distance from an enemy, that enemy has disadvantage on any saving throws against any spell that you cast. So we've just got a simple disadvantage to save effect, which is placed on the target just before you cast your spell, and the enemy will get the disadvantage and the effect will immediately be removed. And so that's that one, and the only other one we've got left is Umbral Form. So we transform ourselves into a shadowy form and have resistance to all damage except force and radiant. And you also take force damage if you end inside an object, and there is a timer. So if we have a look at the effects here, the resistance, we've given this one a name, set it for 1 minute and set to self. So we've got resist all, and we've used the pling character to exclude force and radiant from the all. So we can have a look at that in action. If we place this effect on ourselves, and if we take any damage, let's say from Orc 2, we take slashing damage. We can see we have resisted it, and if we take some piercing damage from the same orc, we've also resisted that. However, if we take some damage from Orc 1 here, who we have doctored so that it does force and radiant damage, we can see that when we take force damage, we take the full amount, and if we take radiant damage, we also take the full amount. So that effect there will cover the situation. And we've also got a small effect here which we can drag and drop on ourselves if we are silly enough to end our turn inside an object. That'll take the force damage, which will obviously overcome this resistance as well. So that's pretty much it for the shadow magic. I'll pause again and add in the effects for Storm Sorcery, and we'll be back soon. Okay, we have added in the effects now for Storm Sorcery. The first two are Theatre of the Mind, so we can't set up any effects for these, and there's no timers or anything like that that we need to set up in the Actions tab. So the first one that we're going to have a look at is Heart of the Storm. And essentially you gain resistance to lightning or thunder damage, and when you cast a first level spell you can cause any creatures within 10 feet of you to take lightning damage equal to half your sorcerer level. So there are 3 effects we've set up for this. The first is the resistance. We've given this one a name. It's permanent, so we've just targeted self but no expend or duration, and it's just a straightforward resist lightning and thunder. The second two, we've got a choice of lightning or thunder damage. So if we have a look at this one, we can see we've set it up in the same way as we saw earlier, with the statistic in here for level, and then we've reduced that with a negative bonus to get it to half, and then obviously given the lightning type, and the thunder is exactly the same. So that's Heart of the Storm. And the next one we look at is Storm's Fury. And we, if we are hit by an attack, then we can use our reaction to deal damage equal to half our sorcery level, and the creature must make a saving throw or be pushed away. So again, it's a couple of effects here. Actually, the damage equals your sorcerer level in this one, not half. So we don't need to have our negative bonus in here to reduce it to half. Just simply use the statistic. This will work, of course, for multi-class characters because it will only look at the sorcerer level. You could have placed an effect in, damage, and then the brackets, LVL brackets, but that would be the character level. So this is the best way to do this particular kind of damage so that we get the right amount. And then we've just set up the saving throw here for the strength. And obviously we need to make sure that for this purpose the whole group here has got everything set up correctly. So if we go into the power group, we can see that we've set the ability here to charisma, which is the sorcerer's ability for their spell casting. And so that means that whatever the sorcerer's charisma modifier is will be correctly computed for the spell save DC or for any saving throw DCs. So that's Storm's Fury, and then we can look at Wind Soul. Basically you get a flying speed of 60 feet, and you can also reduce your flying speed and give other creatures a flying speed. So we've actually created two effects for this. We've got the Wind Soul effect here, which is simply the first part is immunity to lightning and thunder. So we've got the effect in for that, fairly straightforward. And we've also got an effect here to show that you've got a flying speed of 60 feet, and this is simply just a reminder that you've got a flying speed. There's nothing Fantasy Ground is going to do with that. Now there is this possibility that you can reduce your flying speed to 30 feet and then give some further creatures a flying speed as well. And this one does last for an hour, and it also can't be, or a short or long rest needs to be taken before it can be used again. So we've created another completely separate ability here called Reduced Flight, so that, and this just gives us a flying speed of 30 minutes. We can give this the 60 minutes or an hour. And also we are able to go into preparation mode and restrict the number of uses that has. We wouldn't have been able to do that if we'd added the effect into Wind Soul, because you can't individually limit an actual effect. You can only limit the ability itself. So this is why we have created a completely new ability here, so that we can track the number of uses. So that's it for Storm Sorcery, and indeed for the Sorcerer Archetypes in Xanathar. So that's it, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers for now.